Hey, shout out, folks. We have an awesome show for you today. It's Bob the Old Wrecker. Redbeard and I thank you for listening to the show and your great feedback. Please keep sending suggestions on how we can improve your show. Just a few admin notes before we launch into this show. You know, we want to share your story, how you overcame a hurt, habit, or hang-up, and what you do to maintain a healthy, happy life today. Contact us at shoutoutfromthepit.com. Looking forward to meeting you. And you know, we're still on the search for merch opportunities, so if you can help us out, hit us up, shoutoutfromthepit.com, and the Buck Bucket is up on the site as well. Thanks for whatever you can do to help get the word out. And be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with a friend. You'll get Diane's missives full of awesome tools and encouragement and episodes designed to edutain as you trudge the road to happy destiny. Okay, here's what to expect from this show. Cherie from Team Cherie, check out episodes 39 and 40, debuts as host for Ladies Open Mic. No spoiler alerts, except it is an awesome show. So huge shout out to all y'all ladies who made this episode so amazing. And now, on with the show.
Shout out from the pit. This is Cherie, and I am so grateful to be among a group of wonderful ladies to have a round table about how we handle life. But first, did you know cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death in women? And a 2024 study shows stress caused by social and psychological factors can affect cardiovascular health through multiple pathways. Certain stressors, such as sociological disadvantages, childhood adversities, intimate partner violence, and caregiving stress are especially common among women. Broadly speaking, stress is identified as the perception of environmental demands that exceeds an individual's ability to adapt to the certain situation. The consequences of stress began at a young age and persist throughout one's life. Never thought about that, but you think about it. I mean, for women, it starts at a young age. This is especially true for women because the burden of negative emotions, thoughts, and behaviors tend to last longer when we're younger and during middle age. I didn't know that. I think it's by the time we get older, we're like, I don't even care anymore. But that's just me. With this great knowledge, I have asked some of my old friends, some new friends that I'm so excited to get to talk to, ladies that I have seen walk through some really tough things in life and come out on the other side better. And so we got together tonight and we are going to talk about some of those things. And let's go around the room and let everybody just say their name and introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy.
Hey, I'm Shannon.
Hi, I'm Mandy.
Hello, I'm Carla.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sonia.
Hey, everybody. I'm Edie.
Hey, folks. I'm Brenda.
Welcome. Okay, so when I decided I wanted to have this and I was thinking, what the heck we're gonna talk about? It popped in my head, keep it simple. The alphabet is the most simple. Let's start with the letter A. And so everything's gonna be A's. And the first thing I am so excited about, we're gonna talk about is attitude. Oh, I know Edie's face immediately dropped. And that's what I have written down. I was like, saying the word stiffens my back and makes me like get ready for a fight or something like that. You know, something bad's going to happen. So obviously I need some tools to help me along the way. So that's what we are here to do. So the first question we're going to throw out to the round table is, what are some of the first things that you do in the morning to get your attitude right? What do you do first thing? So who wants to start it off?
I'll start.
Go, Brenda.
Hey, everybody. Brenda. I guess probably one of the first things that I do in the morning is I get up and I stretch. That kind of gets my body ready for the day. Also, when I'm getting ready in the morning, I always listen to something spiritual. And that also changes my attitude. I try to have an attitude of gratitude. So I try to think about things that I'm grateful for. Also, I'll put on some disco.
Oh, yes. How early in the morning is this disco playing?
About 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Dang, that's why you're always happy. You wake up just dancing. That's
Exactly.
awesome. Awesome. Anyone else? Mandy.
Yes. Not too sure on the disco.
At 4 in the morning.
At 4 in the morning. Stretching though, that is one thing that I have to do. Otherwise, I'm just rolling out of bed. I got to stretch first, then get out of the bed. Yeah, there's a lot of tools that I've learned along the way. Before, I remember years ago, it would be, oh God, I've got to get up. It's a day. And there was, thoughts were negative. Thoughts were negative. So over the years, I've learned some tools from a lot of really good people. And staying spiritual is one of them. There's a prayer that, I've been asked to do for many years. And that always gets me in that attitude of gratitude. Now, as the day goes on, there's life, people. But one thing that has been, said to me that I always have to remember is that everybody's got a story, so try and figure out what their story is. Why are they so grumpy? Why are they looking so bad? Why are they looking so sad? And just to see what I can do to make a difference. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But at least if I'm trying to do the right thing, then I'm feeling okay.
Oh, great. Good. Sam? No? Anyone else?
Oh, I'll go. So, Sonia, attitude, you brought it up as kind of a negative, and I think of it as a positive attitude where my mind comes up. I don't get, my back doesn't go up, but I guess that's probably because I've kind of taught myself that attitude of positivity. Mornings, not so great for me. Never have been. And I'd like to say I was all spiritual and everything, but literally I go pee. The dogs wake me up because the dogs sleep with me. They're with me all the time and they want to go outside. And so we go outside and I try to sit with them outside. Outside makes me appreciate life, take a deep breath. So it's spiritual, I guess, in a way, but it's nothing formal. It's just, kind of like, okay, Creator, God, here I am, help. And that's how we start our day. Nothing too spiritual or too fancy, but that's how I do it.
So to follow up on that question, you said positive attitudes. Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I think I'm an optimist at heart.
Oh, yes, girl.
Yeah.
Yes. Love it.
Except when it came to myself. I have negative opinions or thoughts or concerns or worries about myself. But I think there's good in everybody. And, my mom would kind of make fun of me for that. I always had the rose-colored glasses on. But I mean, I do. I think the big book even says something about that. There's a little bit of good in the worst of us and a little bit of bad in the best of us. And I tend to look for the good in others and dig out the bad in me.
Love it. Yeah, I completely understand. Stacy?
My obsession of the mind goes way, way back, even to childhood. And I was always a really anxious child. In fact, my hair fell out in bald spots all over my head by the time I was in the 4th grade from anxiety. And so I can't be trusted to get my day going without starting. Actually, I have to capture my first thought. I can't be trusted to let my mind start to roll. And so I kind of call it tithing my first conscious thought. Like I just grab that first thought and make, even before I go pee or let the dogs out, I can't be trusted to even get that far out away from my first conscious thought. And so it's like kind of tithing that first thought and then going outside and to echo what's already been said, having space to breathe. I go out with my mug. I have a mug for my higher power there. I have my dogs and that, I mean, it's a non-negotiable. If I don't get that, my whole day is changed. Yeah, great question.
Awesome. You said something. What do you do with that thought? Explain to me what you do with that thought when you grab it.
I grab my first thought and I turn it over to my higher power. Like I literally grab that first thought and say, good morning, help me. Don't let my brain go nuts before I get to the bathroom.
Yes,
I cannot be
Is it
trusted.
like whatever you wake up with that morning, that's your first thought, whatever the thought is?
No, I literally give that time. If the very first moment of my day, I guard that and protect it and give it over, surrender it, then my whole day is different. And I can tell if I don't. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Eddie.
Did you just call me Eddie?
Did I say it fast? I'm trying to talk slower. I try to talk slower so my southern twang doesn't come out very much.
You're good. Yeah, I am not the attitude queen. Let's put it that way. Like Stacy said, though, I was very not anxious, but from the time I was a little bitty kid, I never felt like I fit in. So I was always acting as if you want to say that, or just I had that, I'll show you kind of attitude. So I grew up with an attitude of defense, So since I've been in the program, I'm learning to try and turn that over. So what I do in the morning, I was taught to get up and first thing get on my knees. And that's exactly what I do. I'm older, so I have to get a pillow now, and it's hard to get up and down after I get down there, but I still do it because hitting my knees is it's a humbling, sign of surrender. So I get on my knees, I say the third step prayer, and then I add some of my own prayer in there. I ask God to guide my day and, just to help me have a good attitude. But what I find is that I'm so much on the run all the time that it seems like I'm rushing through that even in the morning. And I'm like Stacy, if I don't get that right, my day shows it. It really does. But luckily, what I also learned in the program is that I can start my day over anytime. I didn't know what that meant when I first got in the program. But it's true.
Tell us, will you explain that?
Yeah. So when I feel myself getting anxious or snappy at people, because I'm always defensive, because I'm always thinking that you're telling me I'm doing something wrong and I got to prove to you that that's not true. So my first instinct is to snap back, and I'm trying to pause and not do that. But so when I get that way, I have to just stop. And even at work, sometimes I'll just sit in my office and say a quick prayer, like, God, you got to take this because I'm going to slap somebody,
Yes, I do.
But yeah, so that's why the look on my face when you said attitude was, I'm the person that says, I don't have an attitude. That's my personality. But anyway, so yeah, to me, it's starting in the morning with a God, you take this and, guide me through the day. And then when I get off the track, because it isn't him, when I get off the track, then I got to stop and say, okay, get me back on here, And a lot of times it means going back to a person right then and saying, hey, I'm sorry, you didn't deserve that, whatever. And like they tell us in the program, when I'm upset about something, the problem is me, it's not you. So I just have to be aware of that
Thank you, Edie. I relate to that a lot. And I think mine is growing up in a house full of girls. It was just my mom and me and my sister, and I was the youngest. So, you gotta, if you want it, you gotta take it, and nobody's going to mess with you. And that's how I was raised. And I don't like that part of me, but in the inside, that's what I think. So thank y'all. I've heard a lot of good stuff because it starts in the morning. Shannon, take it away.
Yeah, I was just going to share one thing real quickly. Like I heard in here, a lot of anxiety. And, when you get to a certain age, you've had a lot of ups and downs, and it affects, how we feel about ourselves. About 20 years ago, I wrote my own vision and purpose statement. And so I actually have that on my necklace, not all of it, but I have that. And so I used to say it going into work, because that was where my anxiety was usually the highest sometimes, like I got to get ready for the day. I got to be me, I've got to be grounded. And so just saying that, and some affirmations that, have just kind of evolved over the years, and having my necklace to grab onto sometimes whenever I just feel a little bit lost about what am I doing? What do I want? That's been a real good way to bring me back to trying to have the kind of attitude and be the kind of person that I want to be. So, thanks.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, You got one? You want to go? Hit it, sister.
Hi, I'm Carla. I think one of the things that helped me with my attitude, is being consistent with and giving myself some grace in that consistency, having a routine and honoring that routine every day. Staying on a routine every day helps me so much then I don't feel blindsided. I don't feel like life is hitting me too hard, or if I just have consistency in my life and staying true to myself in the morning and being good to me in the morning. Just be, not every day that I get up is going to be terrible, because that was the way it was for me when I got up. Oh my God, this is going to be a terrible day. Or holy God, what's going to happen today? What shit show am I going to have to deal with? And I don't have those kind of days anymore. I don't have shit show days. So, and I think that has to do with consistency and honoring myself in the morning.
Oh, that is so great. That is great. So we got through our day. Mandy, are you sharing again? Go ahead, add to it. Hey, girl.
Yeah, I was just going to say, after listening to everybody's input here, I think what we've all come to realize, well, I do anyway, for me, is that I'm no longer waking up, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Mm-hmm. I wake up with a better conscience, which gives me a better attitude, which helps throughout. Like I said, life happens, but I'm not waiting on the other shoe to drop anymore. I love it.
The microphone.
You have to get the mic.
I think we're taking control of the day in a positive way rather than letting the day just run us over and take control of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you were saying that, I just thought of it's a choice. When you wake up with a bad attitude, all this is going to go. That's a choice to follow that. I never thought about that before. There's also a choice to wait and, find out something that works for you and get your attitude positive. Awesome. So we've gone through our day, but oh my gosh, people are involved and they got us off track because that never happens. What do y'all do to just get through the end of the day when it's just not going like you had wanted? Things, they're always going to pop up. What are some of the things that you've maybe either gone through and got through? What tools did you use to get through those?
All right, I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't really weigh in on the morning thing, but I didn't because I'm not really sure. I mean, I had to think about it, and after listening to everybody, I love what Stacy said, because anxiety and all of that was like that was so bad for me as a child. It was like I was always an anxious child. It was to the point like my mom would have to like throw me out of the car in grade school and like take off. And I was like, my God, you're leaving me. I would cry. I would be sick. I would literally throw up. I didn't have the hair falling out, but I was puking thinking I'm just sick at my stomach all the time over anxiety. And that's probably what helped lead me as I grew up to taking that first drink. But anyway, but throughout the day, I usually don't have one of those like a temper or like a reactor type attitude. So for the most part, some patients will get me there in a heartbeat, but
For the most part.
yeah, for the most part. But there are some times that if I am not in good spiritual condition, like if I have not been sort of rattling like affirmations to myself all throughout the day and somebody pops off to me that I think I'm like, you're not going to talk to me that way. And I think, who am I? Why do I think that they wouldn't talk to me? They're in some kind of condition, some kind of way. And so I want to retaliate instantly. And I think that that's my right because you're in the wrong. And so I have to always kind of tame that if it happens. And it doesn't happen often enough for me to get that practice. So sometimes it gets pretty volatile, if if somebody says something I think is off color or wrong. But pause when agitated was one of the things that I've learned. And pause when agitated for me means when I don't know what to do, when I am fearful, when I am angry, when I'm scared. Any kind of agitation is something that makes my nervous system start to dysregulate. And so whatever that agitation is, to try to learn to stop before I make a move. Doesn't always happen, but I do get to practice that every day.
Well said. Anyone else? Let's go, Edie.
I'm stuck there. I have a lot of opportunity to practice that during the day. Amen,
sister.
Well, I do, and it's because the environment that I work in, I work for a construction company. The guys are very just out there, with whatever. And for the most part, I've got thick skin. I grew up also the baby of 5 and was picked on all the time. So I grew up with pretty thick skin and I can hold my own, but that can get out of control sometimes. I'll reach a point to where, okay, you've teased me about this enough. Even though I know you're teasing, you've teased me about this enough and I'll fire back, and I hate it. Instantly, I feel a knot in my stomach when I do that. So what I do during the day, mostly at work, but even at home sometimes, Paul and I will get in discussions about the deck, for instance, and he's explaining something one way and I understand it a different way. And I can see him getting frustrated and I'm getting frustrated. And I just have to say, I can't right now. I'm done. I can't talk about this because I know where it's going to go if I keep talking about it. And the same thing kind of happens at work. And I'm fortunately not super busy, so I can lose myself in my phone or, a game or, something. I have my own office, so I don't have to sit right around people. So I can just shut down in there and, that's me, the pause. I have to pause. Sometimes I pause for a very long time because it takes that, but it's going to happen, life's out there. And I'm one of those that, somebody said something about when you're not right, I got to tell you that you're wrong or whatever. And so I have a lot of opportunities where people don't always put their head into the job and they make all these mistakes. And I want to just say, what is wrong with you? I mean, and I have to, rein that in because my sponsor will remind me, it's not your business how they do their job. Just do yours. And so staying in my lane, that's the main thing I think I need to focus on throughout the day, is just stay in my lane, keep my head where my hands are, and don't worry about other people.
Yes, thank you.
Hands where your head where your hands. Head where your hands are. Stay where your hands are. That's good advice, because all this extra stuff flowing around, it's a distraction really. And we are here to I have always felt like I was here to help people. And you guys, two of you have mentioned being the smallest, the youngest of the family. And I think that your birth order has a big impact, a big influence on how you behave and how you react to situations. I was the oldest with an alcoholic father. My mother was raised by an alcoholic. So my mom's like classic codependent. So I qualified for Al-Anon and all that stuff way before I took my first drink. And so being the oldest, I'm the crisis manager. So then I became a nurse, go figure. And so I see people in crisis all the time, mental health. I'm the oldest, yeah. And so we're the fixers, but I think we internalize it more. So my stuff, and I have been, kind of mouthy at times and everything, but a lot of my angst, if you will, shows up as headaches, stomach aches. It's inside. So, stay where your hands are. Remember what you're here for, and ask God. I do regularly, guide my hands and my heart and my head. That's my mantra. If I have a mantra, guide my hands, my heart, my head. Let me make the right decisions for these people. And I always look at people. I try to see where they're at. Where they're at is so important, because everybody's going through something. And it can be really, really hard sometimes, because there's some bad people in the world. But I think your birth order has a big role in how we behave with people. That's all.
Do you have something, little baby sister like me? We just found out that we're both the youngest too, and then we have the oldest siblings too, and multiple.
Crisis manager.
Yeah. So I often share, my name is Carla, and I often share that I'm the oops child. I was born 4 months after my parents' 20th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So they were tired. And this was in the 60s. And my oldest brother is 17 years older than I am. So he was running and gunning. Whatever that mantra of the 60s was, loves, what is that? This sex, love, and rock and roll. Sex, love, and rock and roll.
Peace. He went with sex. I say peace. In the 60s, it was.
In the 60s, it was sex, love, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. That's a song,
so
too.
That was, and then I have a sister, and she's 13 years older. And I think she was just pissed that I was born. And treated me that way my entire life.
Oh.
And then the next one up is my brother. So we were boy, girl. And he was born with severe dyslexia. And back then it wasn't treated the same way as it is now. And life was rough for him. It really was. And in school and at home. And so my mother always treated her boys different. And so home wasn't necessarily always the safest place. And so yeah, birth order. So sometimes I feel like I'm a warrior, and sometimes I feel like I'm a victim. All in the same.
Yes.
All in this. So there's this like whole mix up cluster in my head of who am I and what am I, for many, many years. And it wasn't until I got in the rooms that I could figure out that I could be both, and it's okay, And so, yeah, I think birth order has a whole lot to do with who we are and what we become in the world around us.
Awesome. I want to piggyback on that, though. So how do you keep a good attitude now? This is your past, this is your history, and this is for everybody. This is what happened to you. How do you have a good attitude throughout the day about those types of things?
I no longer take it personal.
Okay.
It's my parents did the best they could with what they had to offer. I often say in the rooms, all my parents had was a basket of bananas, and all I needed oranges. And there's no way they could give me what I needed to grow up. And they were broken human beings, and broken human beings can't raise healthy human beings. They just can't. They were tired. They were angry. They had no outlet. They had no recovery. They had no place to find recovery. And they were angry people. And they didn't like each other by the time I came along.
So you told me in the pre-show, I talked about how great your jacket was, and you said your son got it for you.
Yeah.
So how did your upbringing kind of change how you may have raised your own children?
I knew what not to do.
Yes.
There were lots of times I said to my children, I never raised teenagers before. I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. And I said, but all I know is what not to do. I'm not going to beat you. And I would, so often because we never, in my household, we would never, ever did you say, I love you or I'm sorry, ever. Those were open spots to wound you. Those were areas where you were vulnerable, and you couldn't be vulnerable in my home. You couldn't. And we would joke. I mean, after I got sober and was around a while, I would joke that many of the people in my family had a Rolodex. So you said this on this day. And so why do you feel this way? So I mean, it's the truth. I swear to God that we had that. All of us had it. I had to, finally, and I struggle. I pull that Rolodex out sometimes and say to my kids or my husband or whatever, you did this on this day, and I felt like this, and you need to apologize. And
okay, can anyone else relate to that? Because their eyes are looking at each other, because I so get that. My husband tells me that too. It's like you just remember, like you timestamp things and put it in your brain where you can pull it out at a different time. So
absolutely,
and that's that knife. It's that knife. I mean, it's not a real knife, but it's that knife. I mean, we use it to stab people that hurt us.
My late husband has passed away, and I still do that to him. I still go through that Rolodex with that mother, that son, because things that happen make me fearful in relationships today. And so that Rolodex is still there. Fortunately, with this relationship, I don't really have those, because so far it's been good.
How do you clear out the Rolodex? Oh, I'm looking to the ladies on the left now, because we're how do you clear out that Rolodex?
One more thing that I did with my children every day.
Yeah.
Because I have two. They got told every day that I love them. Every day. And when I did, and the rooms taught me this, I didn't know. I needed to address the behavior, not them. So I would tell them, I don't like what you're doing, but I will always love you. And I would also say to them, do you think you'll be proud of what you're doing right now when you're 30?
That sounds like a guilt.
See, my mind immediately said, well, yeah.
I don't care. Yeah, they said yeah. And I said, okay.
My mind said, who cares what I do when I'm 30?
When I was a kid, I would say, I'm not living to 30, so I don't care.
Wow. Oh, that's great. All right. Cleaning out our Rolodex kind of pushes us into the next A we're going to talk about, I think, and it is acceptance. And I have a reading that a lot of you may know. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, that place, that thing, or situation to be exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. And that was huge for me. And I'm actually coming back around to it where it's big for me again, because there's a lot in there. But yeah, a lot of us has said things about, how we grew up, the anxiety that, and I think a lot of that may just be because we're women. I don't know, but I can really relate to it. But I have found that acceptance normally covers so many things that we can make it okay. So that's what I want to learn tonight, how to do it better. So let's go with that. What you got on acceptance? Anybody?
Okay.
We are not accepting of anybody here. Nope.
Okay, I'm going to do this. I've never read this out loud to a group of people.
Oh, yes.
Several years ago, when the Grapevine was going to do a Halloween, whatever, put something in the big book or put something in the Grapevine thing.
A writing workshop.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, we were going to wear costumes and all this stuff. I mean, I was upset because I was the only one who submitted anything. So they canceled it. And I was like, well, that sucks. But anyway, so I wrote...
It was being held for this moment right here to go live. So you thought we canceled it because of you, but it really this is it to go live.
So this is it. And you got to know that my costume was a queen bee with a not sign in it. Like I am not queen bee.
Do it. Let's hear it.
So anyway, I wrote a poem on acceptance. So it says, acceptance. This thing acceptance I never knew. How could I be okay with you? The trouble, the angst, the fear, and the pain. Surely it must be you who's insane. I tried and tried to make you see how what you did impacted me. The more I tried, the more I hurt. And it wasn't just you. It was those at work. It was people, institutions, and laws and such. I couldn't fix anything. It was just too much. And then it happened. I began to see. The only thing I could change was me, and a world opened up that I couldn't believe. You see, it's acceptance that sets me free.
Oh, that was so awesome. You heard it here live on Shout Out from the Pit.
That's right. That's right.
Brenda, do you want to share with us?
Well, I think what I was thinking is that I love that acceptance part in the big book. One thing that I've had to accept about me is that it is me. Usually I want to blame it on somebody else or my upbringing or, you're talking about being the first or the last or whatever. Well, I was the third kid. So I always felt left out. There was really nothing special about being number 3. So, and I always felt small, like no one saw me. And that just continued my whole life. And I can still feel the pain of that just talking about it. So, I mean, I have a lot of work to do on me. And that's the acceptance part. All of that stuff that happened to me when I was growing up, I have to accept it. There's really nothing else that I can do.
That's good. That is awesome.
This is Stacy. When Carla was sharing, I thought, my gosh, are we family and we just didn't know it? And I am pretty sure that I actually was an accident because my mom was still playing high school basketball when she was pregnant with me. And I had teenage parents, very, very young teenage parents. And, the disease runs really strong on one side of the family. And, by the time I got to adulthood, because I was an only child, and I guess I made it so difficult. I was a really good kid, but, coming on the scene when they were such kids, they never went on to have other kids. And so we all kind of raised each other. But in terms of acceptance, I felt responsible because, I'm a classic codependent and want to save and fix and sacrifice myself to a fault and all the things. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got in the program, number one, I had to accept that even though I had 12 family members with addiction, that at times I was the sickest of the bunch because I was so shaped and molded by the stress of feeling like I was the only rational person in the room at times, kind of born 40. And when I got into my own program, it took 5 years before I could actually accept that I wasn't a disaster, and that was, it took 5 years before my sponsor turned me loose to not have to call her every day at 7 a.m. Because going back to the mornings, what got me into tithing, my first conscious thought was that when I came out of my former life, I was having rolling panic attacks before my feet hit the floor. So I had to do something that was pretty radical. So she made me call her. She asked me lovingly and not so. She strongly suggested that I start my morning, with a phone call with her. And I could not be trusted at that point to get my day going. But it took 5 years before I could accept that I was not, number one, a mistake. Number two, a disaster. And number three, not responsible for every single human being around me. And I mean, I am so grateful. And now when because I do, the work that I do is not easy work, and kind of similarly about what's been shared, it suits me as a codependent, I'll say that. But I go in between my clients and I run my hands under the water and I let them feel, and then I just release them. And that's that surrender. And it's like just having a prayer and, accepting that God is God and I am not. Mm-hmm. So I just turn it over. And that action step going, kind of teasing the action step part, that's an action step that helps me. Mm-hmm. Remember that I don't have to be everything for all people all the time.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. I can put them in my hands and then let them go. So I've heard a little bit. Let's talk about acceptance from yourself, because I kind of hear
that part in the big book, the acceptance paragraph. He ends it with saying, "Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober." And he goes on to say, "And until I could do that, I couldn't be happy." And if it's about being happy and whole, and acceptance of my alcoholism is the problem, is the big one, then everything else kind of falls into place. You said born 40. I feel that in my spirit. I didn't hang on my mom's leg at the elementary school. I was like, bye, let me out of this crazy place. But then I keep finding myself going back and trying to fix it all, because that alcoholic father, my mother divorced when I was 12, and she married quickly a man who is a wonderful man. He's still my stepdad to this day, but they together codependented everybody to death. And my brother and sister are still suffering the effects of that. You can be so sick because of not having ever taken a drink or a drug. I feel very sorry for the people that don't have, I don't know if it's an excuse or a reason to be in the rooms, but everybody could use a 12-step program, and so many people that need it because of their family members, they don't understand that they need it. They need it more. They're definitely sicker. And I don't know where that came from, but I just, the whole my acceptance has to start here, and then I can accept other people. You also said accept God. He's God and you're not. You got to accept God's decisions on things. I mean, he does have the final say, and nothing happens in God's world by mistake. The truer words could not be spoken. I've had a lot of things this last few years that I've had to accept that just, God has a plan. I got to know it. And he knows the big picture. It's like he looks at us. We look at things like through the little lens. We just see what we got right there. And he's got this big, 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 wide focus on it all. And he sees this and this and this. It's all going to come together. I got to believe it. The optimist in me.
I've got, I always know when I feel like I need to share something, because like I have this physical response like in my body, my gut, just like, but so acceptance for me is a little different. Acceptance is, it's that place where I come to realize that I don't have control. I don't have control over the situations that are around me, that I can only control how I respond to them. When you talk about, like, when you said that nothing by mistake, nothing happens in God's, presence or whatever by mistake, nothing happens in his world by mistake. And so, 4 years ago when I lost my daughter to this disease, it disrupted the entire, everything that I believed in that moment about who I thought God was. And while I never consciously believe in at all that God is responsible for her death, I do understand that, we live in this fallen world, and it's a disease that we all have that is a killer. So I understand that, but that surfacey part of where I start to try to gain my relationship with God back, because it crumbled a bit. It was strong, and that kind of shattered it a little bit. I still have all the pieces. I didn't lose the pieces, but they're slowly having to be put back together, because I had so much faith that, that he was the God of miracles and things like that. But it had to come. And I love what you said about the acceptance with me. Like, if I have to accept that I am alcoholic, and that I have to work my recovery from the moment my feet hit the floor, because I can always allow something like this, like when I think about Brittany and I miss her and that sort of thing, that it's almost like if I let myself get too far down that path of thinking, that I will lose my mind, and so acceptance for me has to be, I have to accept that she's gone. I have to accept that I have to live. I have to accept all of these things. And so you have to, and it's more like about it's being weaved into my life. The acceptance has to be weaved into my life. It can't just be, I accept it today, because tomorrow I might not so much. And on her birthday, I won't so much. On Christmas, I won't so much. But every other day that I can exert myself into this lane of speaking about her and talking about her, that it kind of steals that foundation for me of accepting that life will go on. It has to go on. And so that acceptance is like, I have no control. And, if I don't keep trying to accept things, they turn into resentments, and those are what kill you. I mean, her death is her death, and nothing will ever change that. But if I begin to have resentment against God or anybody about it, it will kill me. And she's already gone. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that sharing her with other people has given me more healing than anything that I could ever imagine in my life. So,
oh, that is great. You don't stuff it down. You let it out, and that's what helps.
Speaking to the grief, that is woven throughout, and it waves and ebbs and waves and crashes. And my alcoholic father killed himself when I was 24, and I was really active in my drinking. I didn't stop drinking until I was 32. And looking back, I mean, it was very tragic, very hard. It colors who I am and what I do for a living and how I help people. And it becomes a big it's become a positive, but we're talking about 35 years later. You know, it didn't come easily to that positive place. He was complicated. You know, we are complicated. Grief is hard. But when it's fresh, 4 years, and I do not know what it's like to lose a child. My husband has been gone. It'll be 2 years January, and he was sick for a very long time. And we had in-home hospice for a year and a half. I was, a great man, reduced to just why. You know, I could sit around and ask God why, but I know that he had an impact on the family. Even this short a time out of it, we're closer. We became closer. There's good that comes out of it. It's just hard to see it. You got to look for it. And I get sick of missing him, and I get depressed, down, and just don't stay that way.
Well said. Mandy?
Yeah. Hi. What you said I thought was so extremely powerful was that the faith that you had, and it was shattered, but you haven't lost the pieces. That I think is so powerful. I mean, that's faith, that's looking beyond what the eyes can see, and to know that that is there and to be able to work on that. And it just goes to show this is a journey, and, for me, I had to learn how to accept a lot of things, like I'm not always right. I am an alcoholic, damn. Darn it. I'm not the boss. And, there's so many things that I had to learn to accept. But when I finally surrendered, that was the first time that I ever actually understood and could comprehend peace and serenity. Ever since that, because that was the biggest exception, is like we've said, it's us, and that emotional barometer for me, and I work with a bunch of women, and we're all batshit, but I learned to block them out. Before, I would be the first one to throw the punch or, say the word or what have you. But today it's like, I'm not even going to go there. I ran around for 30 years, stupid and crazy. I'm not going to do that again because I know where I'll end up. I don't want to go back there. I remember a time I was on the assembly line, working in a metal factory. I was on an assembly line, and I was constantly making rejects. This was one particular job I was really bad at. But I'm getting better, I kept telling myself. No, I wasn't. Right? And this one girl, she would just, Mandy, that's another one. That's another one. I finally turned around and I said, do you have any idea how that makes me feel? She stopped. She went, no. She never said it since. I didn't have to lash out. I didn't have to get crazy and throw throat punch or anything like that. It was, do you have any idea how that makes me feel?
You put it back on her.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And, it just worked. It's like, I didn't have to get angry. Just tell her how you feel. No, don't. No, I couldn't really tell her how I felt because then I'd be like this big, But ask her, do you know how it makes me feel? And she just, it makes you think. But to me, it's not worth it today. I can't get irate. And the other things that bother me, but, I was talking with Shannon earlier today, and there's certain things I have to give to God on every day, every morning. Me being number one, because I made plenty of mistakes. But that's why we mix. That's why we gel, it's because we heal each other. And I just think that's awesome.
I want to follow that up with, it's the thing, one of the things that has come out of that is that it is the worst thing that has ever happened. And it's the worst thing that I can imagine that's ever going to happen in my life. So it actually measures my day-to-day communication with somebody else in that it leaves less for me to get upset about. Like when the worst thing happens, it's like, it's just the perspective of, you can't really hurt me anymore than, you can't, you can't hurt me anymore than, and not only that, I can take this and use this to help heal other people, and try not to do it though, like Stacy, like you said, and I couldn't fix Brittany, and I understood that, but I could love her right where she was. And I did tell her that every day. And we had conversations about it because I was sober. And so we had the conversations, and I knew I was with her when she took her last breath. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that if I think about, I got to do that sober, I got to do that sober. It could have been so much worse. And I try now to focus, and it's taken me this long, but I try to focus on the fact that I walked through that process sober, and I didn't drink, and I feel like shit, a lot in the beginning, but it's getting better. And I never thought that I would even be able to say that. So acceptance is the key. Putting those pieces back together is a key, but I can't do that by myself. And it's like sitting in a room like this with women and other people. But this particular moment right now is special because this is healing for me. And I know it's healing for everybody else, but like, all I think about is me because I'm a good alcoholic. But for me, thank y'all for being here for me. But it's just in that moment, this is an opportunity. This brings acceptance. This brings healing. This puts some pieces back together for me. Tomorrow, I'll maybe wake up and take a thought captive. And I'll think about, maybe I should write a statement or a purpose or, and think about what you said about like, don't, if you are having a thought like that, put it back on them and say, hey, do you know how that makes me feel? I mean, like, and not be destructive. All of these things I'm learning that this is what is healing for like long-term, the process. This doesn't make everything okay right now, but it sure does. It's sure going to help tomorrow when all of this soaks in. As it soaks in, it's going to help tomorrow and the days after.
I think it's okay that it can just be about us. It just can't be about us every day, all day long. Like, I think it's really important when people go through things like you're going through, that we can just let it be all about you. And you can be okay with it being all about you because that's what you need right now. It's that if it stays that way forever, because that's what you need. It needs to be. When we go through shit like that, because our babies are not supposed to die before us. They're not.
Thank you.
On the flip side of what you were saying about it making you less, you can be hurt less. I have had to watch myself, optimist that I tend to be. I can be a little bit judgmental of people's problems, and like I want to say, you really think you've got a problem? Let me tell you.
That's like a stage, isn't that a stage of grief?
Please grief,
come at me.
Grief. Grief is such a complicated subject. Grief is, I thought recovery was a tough subject. I thought acceptance was a tough subject, but grief is really, really deep. And it sounds so cliche, unless you have felt it in your very being and you have felt the wreck of those waves and they come out of nowhere and you'll be doing okay, just clicking right along, and then boom, it'll hit you and you can't even breathe. The pain. There's a woman, Joni Erickson taught, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of her. She broke her neck, and now she's like a Christian book writer. She broke her neck and she's completely, yeah, exactly. She just can't move anything except her head, But she talks about grief when something like, and you guys are talking about the puzzle pieces, just to make me think about this. She said it's like you're working a jigsaw puzzle and you've got the jigsaw puzzle just about together, and then somebody just comes over there and just whoosh, knocks it all off the table. You said your puzzles, it's still there. It's all over the floor, and it takes a lot of time to pick those pieces back up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's destructive.
Jenny.
Anyone else had that happen or want to comment on that? And the room goes silent.
Have what happened? Have
just anything like what she was saying,
like
when that hits you and it just overwhelms you. What do you do? How do you get out of it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite a few years out from my late husband passing. But yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. I was listening to music, on my computer at work, and the song that my niece sang at the funeral came on, and I haven't heard that song in forever. I mean, forever. He's been gone 16 years, and it was just like, I just froze. I was in the middle of typing, entering stuff, and I just froze. And I just sat there with my hands over the keyboard. I didn't cry. I'm crying now, but I didn't cry then, but it was just like, because the song was, I think it's Gary Underwood. It was, oh gosh, I don't know, the one about, how am I going to live without something like that? Where she walks in the church in her wedding gown and whatever, and why'd you have to go? Why'd you,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I just froze. And it was like, I have, for the most part, I hate to say gotten over his death, but that's kind of the way I feel. I have gotten over the birthdays and the anniversary dates. I'll say, oh, today was his birthday, or, oh, this was our anniversary. But it doesn't hit me like that. But when that song came on, it just did something to me that I thought was just settled, So, yeah, it lays in there waiting, and it can get you at any time.
Yeah, so you didn't say get over. Maybe you never get over it. You just, what Sam said, you just keep living. That's what
It just keeps weaving.
just keep breathing. Sometimes the best weaving.
It all just keeps weaving into your life. As each day passes and something else, each day passes and something like that depletion of her loss, that deep sense of her loss, is added. Something is added to it. A little by little, and so it sort of starts to fill up with some goodness and some other things. Diluted. Yeah, diluted. I was going to say, my youngest daughter, she moved to Colorado a year after we lost Brittany, and I was like, damn, there goes, she's gone too. I feel like this dismantling my life, and but she couldn't stay here without her. And so I had to respect her choice, and I had to let her, do what she needed to do. And the beauty in that is that last month I went there and she got married to a guy he's a wonderful man and treats her like a queen. And they have a beautiful life there. And I get to go to an amazing place to go visit. And that never would have happened. She never would have left. She just couldn't stay here. And so the beauty for ashes, it's like, and that's the thing that I put on her gravestone, is that was always, it's just stuck in my heart. Even when she was still alive, it was just like beauty for ashes. There's got to be beauty for ashes. And you can find that. You can find it in anything. It's not so easy when you're in the pits of it or in the pain of it. But if you can crawl back out and just catch your breath, you can find things. And so those things become easier to tap into than it is the weight of the loss when it happened. That weight, there's nothing that compares to that weight. But then, as life goes on and things happen, you can, it's weaved into these other good things. So she's always here. She's always with me.
And what I wanted to add to it is I have seen, I've had things happen in life. My husband got sick. We actually still have him, but he was on life support. And for 30 days, we didn't know if we were going to keep him or not. And every day was something different that went wrong until he got a transplant. But I was able to remember Edie and people like Brenda, who's gone through tough things. And the difference is I can see Sam and Edie. I can see you ladies. Y'all went through something tough. And yeah, you might have broke. And yeah, you might break 16 years later. That's okay. Because y'all have been examples for me when I had to walk through my most traumatic thing to come. And I think that is important. And I think it's important to share, and it breaks our heart when we share what happened to us. But I think it is a little bit of healing. But not only that is other people can look at what you've gone through and say, oh, you're not perfect. You don't got to do it perfect at all. But you did it and you didn't break. And if she didn't break, I can do this too. You know, I think that's very important to continue to share, because one of the things with acceptance for me is my head is my worst enemy. Always has been, absolutely always will be. And if I keep it inside my head, it's gonna go bad quickly, you know. But it's like we say all the time, when you tell a friend a person, you cut that problem in half. And that's so true when you share. And just us sitting here tonight, just sharing. Yeah. Yeah. Say that in the microphone, Manny. Say it loud. Say it loud. Whoa.
When we share of this, it loses its power.
Yeah. I love it. It does.
This fellowship, you're talking about the fellowship of people. You know, you were sober when your daughter died, and my husband, Kevin, was sober. He was 23 years sober, and I was sober, and that wouldn't have happened had it not been for the fellowship. My father did not die drinking. It was his battle with his mental illness. He was about 7 years in the program, and it was people from the fellowship that noticed he was missing, and that's who found him, were people from the fellowship. So this is what it's about, us.
Woo-woo! I just want to cheer now. All right, but we can't stay here all night. So let's go to our last wonderful A, which is action. I'm going to go dun, dun, dun. And I'm going to turn this over to Stacy for this part.
Thank you, Cherie. As I had notes, of course, I had notes written down, and then as the beauty has woven its way through the stories and the reflections and the vulnerability and the share, I started, scratching and making a lot of notes, because I follow the good orderly direction that this meeting has taken. But, I was listening to everyone that just shared, and in the acceptance piece led right into the action. And it's interesting, because me accepting certain hardships, difficulties, unconscionable pain, and the surrender of that, surrendering is an action, and turning our care and our will over to God as we understand God to be. But going back to action, and you guys can take this any direction that you want, but I know in listening to the stories, the depth and the pain and the heartache that's involved in all of these different experiences, it is going to either make us bitter or brighter, number one, and it's either going to define us or propel us. And what I just heard is that, something was changed, and you took a different action. It wasn't the action based on the program. It wasn't maybe the action that you would have before you were in the program. And so, however you guys want to take this, what action or non-action did you lean into? And then also, how do you frame up? Because it's one thing to respond or react, and reacting is an action. And so, early, either take it, the way the conversation was going, or take it back to, what did you learn to not react with? What did you have to unlearn, if you will, in the program? Does that make?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Who wants to go? Well, I'll go first, since everybody else has gone first. Gosh, my sponsor had to tell me a lot that doing nothing is an action. It is a strong action. And it's not like doing nothing like, no, I'm going to tell you I'm going to do something and I'm not going to reach my commitment. I'm not going to live up to my commitment. Not reacting to something. And actually, that's the season I'm in right now. My sponsor, now is telling me, just don't react. Just keep your mouth shut. Some of the best times is like, just keep your mouth shut. Like, walk to another, but I do that. I will leave these situations, like walk to the other room, It was so weird with the first I think it was second Thanksgiving. I was sober. And we had Thanksgiving at our house, and I knew the people were going to be overwhelming. It was family. It was bunches of people. And so in the middle of cooking, I just said, well, these scraps look great. I'm going to go feed them to my chickens. And out I went to feed them, left everybody, but it was so peaceful. I had to take the action of getting out of that situation, and made an excuse that I was going to go throw scraps to chickens, but it was, I'm not used to taking action for myself. I'm like you. I'm going down with the ship, and by gosh, I'm going down with you, and I'm taking me with you, and I'm going to ride a pity train all the way down with you. So taking actions is sometimes very difficult for me, and God, I think about it and think about it and think about it, but I never actually do it, and I've never had an instance where I didn't take the action. You can have fear, you can have whatever, take it anyways and not get a reward. A wonderful, wonderful blessing that I never saw coming. I don't think but it's not something that just happens. It's not like I just got, I quit drinking, I worked the steps, I worked the program, boom, I'm in action. No, I don't do that today. I mean, it takes doing little actions over time. And I think that's kind of what we talked about with acceptance too. None of this happens over time. It happens, or none of it happens quickly. It happens over time, gradually and slow. So I have to remember that. So maybe if I yell at somebody today, maybe I'll remember to pause next week. Who knows? Maybe not, but action is the key for me. It's the key to being whole, whether that is doing nothing or whether that is turning it over to the God that I understand. That's hard for me because I can do this. I can fix them. I know what to do. You don't know who I am. I'm a military mom. I can do this. So a big action for me is actually giving it over and saying, I don't have control of this. I absolutely do not know where it's going to go. That's another season I'm in right now. I'm in school. And I went for this weird degree in animal health that, I know nothing about animals. I love them, but I know nothing about them. But I knew I was supposed to go do this. It's one of those, it's this is it. And I got into the school. It's okay, I'll apply to the school. If I get in, that's God's will. If I don't, and I immediately got in. And now I'm taking these classes, but I don't know what I'm doing. What does this look like at the end? I have no idea. And, people are asking me, oh, what are you going to do with that? But I have to be honest and say, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I have faith because I've gone through enough little actions to see that they turned out okay to say, I don't know, y'all. And sometimes I talk to myself a lot about, have you just made the absolute dumbest decision? But I still am going to do it because I have to walk through the action, have to take the action and walk through it to get the results. And I've had a lot of little things to know there's a result there. And I'm coming on this podcast when the result comes and telling everybody. But right now, I have no earthly idea what it looks like. No idea what it looks like. But I know it's there because it's been given to me that this is where you're supposed to go. And that sometimes it's so hard. It's like blind action. You're walking through something and you have no idea what's going to happen. Go ahead.
I got an extra master's degree, same type of thing. No reason. Haven't used it. Don't know why, but learning's good. It's good. It's good.
Right. I use it.
When I started school yesterday.
Huh? And then you started school yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know where I'm going with that. I'm going into debt with that. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a pot to piss in, but yes, I'm gonna go to school. But for me, last year was a life-changing experience. I, divorced and live by myself, live in a townhouse. I don't have assets. The only asset I have is my car. And so I thought, since Brittany passed, I have wanted to like gear my nursing into mental health and treatment. And so for the past year, I've been actually working at a treatment center. And so as I'm there and learning and getting to share so much with these guys, it just, like the thought occurred to me, like I was never going to go back to school. I'm an RN. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I was never going to go back to school. And then it just kept the same thing. I wasn't really asking. I just kept getting that nudge, like, just do it. I mean, like, why not? I mean, I live by myself. I work AA, and that's really my whole life, and running, and that's it. And so why not go to school? So, debt is what it is. I swear, by the time I finish, I might be able to, get Social Security, to pay off my school debt. But I don't know. I know that it's needed. Mental health treatment, that is something that's needed, and it's not saturated with lots of nurse practitioners, and that's where I'm going with it. So, I know that to the day I die, even if I don't make money, I can, I'll stop you on the street and see if I can give you some Prozac. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
Because I've been doing it for 25 years. So thanks for thanks for reminding me that you gave me a little bit of a little injection of hope for the future. I've been doing it for so long that I'm a little jaded and a little tired.
Yeah.
But you give me the reason. That's the reason I started. And so keep at it. And if I can help you in any way,
I'm going to be calling you and just for help, but not to pay my bills, but help with all the others.
There may be a rural, maybe you'll be able to get a job, get some repayment.
There you go. Oh yeah. There'll be plenty. Oh, I'm excited to see where this lands in for a few years. And we'll have like a petting center. So Cherie, like a mental health petting zoo.
Therapeutic animal center. Sure.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. There you go.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. The holistic picture.
See, and she was wondering why
we can do yoga with goats or something.
So for me, action is, because I've all my life like bended and molded myself into what you wanted me to be. And after my husband passed, over the course of these 16 years in recovery and looking at myself and looking at that relationship, I've learned how toxic it really was. I loved him, but it was very toxic. And we went to some very, very, very dark places. And so the action I take now for myself is I'm learning to, and it's very, very hard, to set boundaries and to be able to, I get, even just talking about it, to be able to talk about it, to be able to, because that fear of how that person's going to, receive that is debilitating. Mm-hmm. And so I'm learning to, first of all, I have to have trust in the person that I'm dealing with, and being able to talk about my truth and my feelings. You know how that makes me feel. That's a big action for me, because I would never do that before, and I would just let things go however, and I would let myself be uncomfortable and feel unsafe or whatever, because I was too afraid to have that conversation or what the outcome would be. Are they going to leave? Are they going to, whatever. And I'm learning to walk through that and pray about it and give me the strength and courage to stick up for to keep myself healthy.
I just wanted to say, control the narrative. You have the ability now to control the narrative.
I don't know about controlling it, but
well, you can.
I can at least stay in it.
We learn it. Well, we learn it doesn't matter what people think about us; it's what we think about them.
Say that again.
It doesn't matter what people think about us; it's what we think about them. If we think badly of somebody, then our actions towards them are, we're going to act the way. See, it all begins with a thought, right? We act on a thought. Mm-hmm. But if people say stuff about us, that's a part of the acceptance thing, okay, yeah, whatever. You're wrong, but whatever. I can let that go. That's not a problem. But if I start feeling bad about somebody, it's like, well, I can't tell you something just in case you might think, then you've just blocked yourself off again.
Now, who's the mental health worker? She's talking
I know,
about
right?
behavioral therapy over here.
I was just trying to get at that, you share what you want to share, regardless of what anybody else may think, because they're not important.
That's true. And that's true. And I do that. I'm talking about an intimate relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. That,
like
that I do care what,
Okay, go ahead.
Like
what
any relationship, like a friendship?
No,
or just
I'm talking about
Your partner.
Gotcha.
partner
I don't
relationship.
have one of those, so everybody else gets.
Yeah, no. I was talking about being able to, because of past situations that happen, and I was ending up, he was paying for something he did, and so because I wouldn't tell him, well, this is how I feel when this happens, or, when this is said, or when this, whatever. And I'm learning to get that voice, so that we can communicate and he's not a mind reader.
Yeah.
He's not a mind reader. And I have to, because of when I would say things like that previous, they would be used against me.
Knife. The Rolodex knife.
So anyway, that's So that's my action.
Back to you, Stacy. Do you have anything else for us?
I think just being here tonight and putting ourselves out there and being vulnerable is an action step. And it's interesting because, there's been a lot shared, and I sat over here and I thought, can the people closest to me see that my body is vibrating? I mean, we bring deeply stored experiences, and I'm an anxious person anyway. And so the action, just getting uncomfortable, that's for me an action, putting myself out there and, sharing this experience with you all. And, I think the action step for us anxious types, at least for me, was one of the greatest resources was the God Can. Having a place that instead of just saying the prayers, actually going to something and jotting it down and putting it in like hand delivered mail, and like a cookie jar on the kitchen counter. I have an empty gummy vitamin bottle on my makeup dresser, and it's stuffed full. And then I've got a Ziploc that the extra run over. I mean, I never throw them away because I want to look back and see as I've turned those fears, cares, concerns, obsessions over. And I mean, listen, and I talk to people about this all the time. I can't tell you how the God Can works. I just know that it does. And the action step is, there's something tangible about that. And then some people date them, some people don't. But I can go back and I can look through all those things that just, I was obsessing about and losing my mind over, and I'll pull them out one by one and go, yep, okay, God handled that. God handled that. And sometimes much better than I could have ever imagined, and sometimes in the most poignant is in what God refused me, So, anyway, I really appreciate this group and the topics tonight. Great job, Cherie, and everyone.
Well,
yes.
That was everybody else. Does anybody else have any more closing? Brenda? Come on, Disco Brenda. Lead us out.
Well, I guess on the subject of action, I haven't shared that my husband passed away also 6 years ago. So I think one of the most important things that I did then, which has helped me tremendously now, is that I sought counseling because he was ill just for a short while. He was diagnosed in April with a glioblastoma, and he passed in June of the same year. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to deal with what was happening and then also deal with his passing. So they suggested at the hospital that I get into caregiver counseling, which helped tremendously. Now, he hated it because he wasn't in his right mind. Okay. So, the glioblastoma, the brain tumor, just changed his personality tremendously. I mean, it was like a total, turnaround. So, I got to where I would tell little white lies when I went to those. I'd just say I was getting my nails done or whatever, because the first time I told him that I was going to caregiver therapy, he goes, "You don't need caregiver therapy." So anyway, I just kind of just didn't tell him when I was going, but that absolutely helped me tremendously. And then the same person turned into grief counseling. So, that was the best action that I could take at that point. And I saw her for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So, she helped me kind of deal with all of the after. And another important thing that I paid attention to is that most people said, don't change anything in major things, don't sell your house, don't move, don't, any of that stuff for a year. So, I paid attention and I listened to those people for advice. And then Cherie was talking about how, just being around people that have dealt with hard things in their life, how that's helped her. Well, I mean, I was the recipient of that as well. So, it's full circle. You're in a group of people and, someone in that group has gone through it, and you can go to a person, and ask advice. So, all I can say is just, keep on reaching out, and there's help out there.
Thanks, Brenda.
Thanks, Brenda. And for the close, I don't know, we didn't plan it, but I know he always closes it. So we should do that too, because I think everybody grab a microphone. Y'all get close to each other, because he says, if no one's told you today you're loved, then we're all going to say, we love you. Ready? If nobody's told you today, we love you.